be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow. I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online. Right now, there are attacks happening on a hotel in Rotherham.
Isn't it clear that Brexit had to come to an end? The United Kingdom made its decision in 2016, when over 17 million citizens proudly voted to leave the European Union, severing the long-standing political and economic ties that had connected our nation. After lengthy and exhausting negotiations, we finally reached an agreement and exited the EU. Yet now, Keir Starmer, like a spectre from the past, suggests that we need to revisit this issue, stirring up a wave of discontent and confusion among the public. Reports indicate that Starmer aims to renegotiate key elements of the Brexit agreement, referring to it as an economic reset. But let's not deceive ourselves. Critics argue that this is merely a clever tactic to draw Britain closer to the EU without officially calling it a re-entry. He speaks of enhancing trade and boosting the economy, but people are left questioning, at what price? But does this imply a betrayal of the independence we have fought so hard for and that Brexit was meant to secure? We cannot allow our hard-won efforts and aspirations to be undermined.
Now, day 162 of the grown-ups being in charge. How's it going? Well, we've given away sovereign British territory. Pensioners are freezing to death. We've annoyed the president-elect of our biggest ally. There's a stampede of private school kids heading into the already oversubscribed state sector. 10,000 millionaires are expected to leave the country this year, a record. Farmers are killing themselves because of the inheritance tax raid. Borrowing is up. Public sector pay are up. Inflation is up. Companies are laying people off. Business sentiment and recruitment are at the lowest level since the pandemic. And we're gambling our economic future on flaky renewables.
The EU appears to be absolutely thrilled with this idea. They have consistently argued that maintaining close ties with the UK is beneficial for both parties. But isn't there a valid reason why Britain chose to go its own way? For many, this issue transcends economics. It touches on identity, control, and self-determination. If Starmer attempts to position himself as a mediator between the two sides, he risks crossing a delicate line, which could lead to disaster. The public is left confused. Is this collaboration truly in the national interest, or is it merely the first step toward completely reversing Brexit? Starmer's plans for an economic reset seem ambitious, but who exactly are they intended for? Many believe this is not aimed at those who voted to leave the EU. In 2016, the public clearly voiced their wishes, and now they feel overlooked. Starmer's new approach appears to be moving in the opposite direction, reigniting discontent and frustration throughout the country. This isn't the first time Starmer has faced accusations of disregarding public sentiment. His critics argue that he prioritizes appeasing EU leaders over honoring the will of the British people. They contend that his reset plan favors the interests of the elite over pressing everyday issues like jobs, housing, and living costs.
It is now clear that Keir Starmer is embarking on a huge renegotiation with Brussels, in which he will immediately be asked to hand back control of our fisheries, of our borders, and of our independent lawmaking abilities. And if he does any of this, he will be completely betraying his promises in the 2024 election, and he will be taking this country in completely the wrong economic direction. So if you care at all about democracy or the economic salvation of Britain, then I urge you to fight, and fight again for the freedoms that people voted for in 2016 and which Keir Starmer is now threatening to throw away. Read my column in the Daily Mail.
That's where the real intrigue kicks in. EU leaders appear to be ecstatic about the idea, as if they've stumbled upon a golden opportunity to regain influence over Britain, a nation they've been eager to distance themselves from. Yet for many in the UK, it feels like déjà vu, a return to the debates and conflicts that once divided our country. And here lies the crucial question: Is Starmer genuinely attempting to repair the economy, or is he brazenly rewriting history? If that's the case, how will the public respond to what could be seen as a covert betrayal? The renegotiation of Brexit has already sparked shock and confusion, but Starmer's next move is poised to be even more controversial and perilous. He aims for the UK to re-establish close ties with the EU, but didn't the public vote to move away from that? His vision suggests a revival of partnerships in trade, security and other areas. To many, it sounds like he's quietly paving the way back to Brussels without explicitly stating it.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister doesn't own any of his own clothes. Oh, and news today that the economy shrank again this month by 0.1%. What a treat to have those grown-ups back in charge. Now, the economic figures are extraordinary. Earlier in the year, growth was 0.7% under the evil Tories, who crashed the economy apparently. And that growth is now 0.1%, and we are flirting with recession. But you know what? I actually don't mind. I'm not bothered by the fact that Britain has descended into a socialist doom loop of ever higher taxes, higher borrowing and lower growth. Because Britain has got its first woman chancellor.
That's the crux of the issue. Starmer claims his plan will bolster the economy, but what about those who feel overlooked and forgotten? Brexit was not merely about leaving the EU. It was a powerful and courageous statement against politicians who appeared disconnected from reality and dictated what was best for the people. Starmer's reboot threatens to reopen old wounds in a nation still grappling with the aftermath of the Brexit vote. Why does this provoke such anxiety and concern? If this plan moves forward, it could lead not only to political disputes, but also to a significant backlash against the government. After all, how far can leaders push before people feel their voices no longer matter? The pressing question is whether Starmer will heed the public's concerns before it's too late, and whether a new wave of discontent is on the horizon. And if that weren't enough to ignite a heated debate, Angela Rayner's ambitious housing promises are creating quite a stir. Rayner has pledged to construct 1.5 million new homes in the UK. While this sounds appealing on paper, what is the reality? How will this impact those who are already facing housing shortages? Is this truly just another unfulfilled promise?
Today, Keir Starmer's government broke with convention in a way no other government has done before. In fact, most governments would wait 3, maybe even 4 years, but this desperate Prime Minister has done a relaunch of his administration in just 5 months. Extraordinary. Let me take you back a few months in time. Back to March 2023, when everybody assumed Labour were heading for a landslide election victory, and a bold, brave Keir Starmer announced 5 mission statements. One of them was to ensure that a Starmer government would make the British economy the fastest growing in the G7. Well, that went well. We're just about one of the slowest. Come June, they had a rethink, because I think they realised Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, she was Shadow Chancellor of course at the time, had been rather over-optimistic. So we then had 6 first.
Rayner, however, struggled to articulate her stance on these crucial issues. In interviews, she faced repeated accusations of dodging questions about how these homes would actually be allocated. Critics have expressed serious concerns that the Labour Party's policies do not accurately reflect the realities many British families are experiencing, especially given the overwhelming demand for housing. The negative backlash is only intensifying, and people are beginning to ask, why aren't resources being prioritised for those who truly need them? UK citizens, veterans and the homeless. Rayner's comments, along with Rachel Reeves' data on housing and migration, raise a deeply troubling question. Is the government's housing plan genuinely intended for everyone? Or is it sidelining Britons and disregarding their struggles and needs? How can you abandon your citizens at such a critical time? People are calling for transparency and fairness.
To me, she's got rid of the men's urinals in the Treasury and hung up women's art. That is the real change Britain needs. The one chink of light from this Labour government could be their efforts to build 1.5 million homes before the next election, as announced by Sharon Stone Tribute Act Angela Rayner. But there was even a fly in that ointment, with doubts that they'll hit that figure, and with claims that 5 out of every 7 of any new homes built will go to immigrants.
But this is where the disagreements arise. Many people genuinely believe that these new homes will not provide real benefits to those who truly need them, the British citizens facing tough circumstances. Critics have raised serious concerns that a significant portion of the allocated funds might be directed toward assisting migrants, including those who have entered the country illegally. The statistics are telling. In just the past year, the number of migrants has surged to a record high of over 600,000, leading to a dramatic increase in housing demand. Reports, such as those from journalist Isabel Oakeshott, shockingly reveal that many homes meant for the homeless are actually being given to migrants. This has sparked profound disappointment and anger among citizens who feel neglected and overlooked in their own country. How can you disregard those who have been waiting for assistance for so long? People are calling for justice and want their voices to be heard. See you.